Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 14th of January of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the United States of America, because the craziest updates are coming exactly from this area. Today the Prime Minister of Greenland stated that if we have to choose between the United States and Denmark here and now, we choose Denmark, NATO, the Kingdom of Denmark and the European Union. And that was something that made the President of the United States of America very angry. Reporter asked him, the Prime Minister of Greenland said today we prefer to stay with Denmark, and the President of the United States of America answered that that's their problem. I disagree with him. I don't know who is he or anything about him. That is going to be a big problem for him. So this is the situation in the United States of America, and one thing is clear, that currently nobody in the world understands what exactly the United States of America are going to do within the next hour. Furthermore, the President of the United States of America emphasized, tell Denmark, NATO, tell Denmark to get them out of there now. Two dog sleds won't do it, only the USA can do this. So he was talking about competition probably with the Russian Federation and China. So very difficult to understand what is going to be within the next hour or within the next day, because during the previous 24 hours we received reports that Denmark sends military equipment and advanced detachments to Greenland with the purpose to do what? To try to stop the United States of America. At the same time, we continue receiving lots of updates from Iran. Different media reported that it's very likely that the United States of America will strike Iran within the next 24 hours. Very interesting, this situation as well. So now we see at least three hot points in the world: Greenland, Iran, and of course Cuba and the Southern America, including Venezuela and also Mexico. So lots of things might happen within the next 24 hours, and nobody in the world knows where exactly the United States of America will act first, either in the area of Greenland or Iran or the Southern America. So this is the point. And the thing is that during the previous several days, the President of France changed his position radically. First, he was talking that he's not going to talk with the Russian Federation, he's not going to have talks with them, but based on the current situation, we see that his position is changing. For example, Macron on Greenland stated that if sovereignty of an ally is affected, knock-on effects would be unprecedented. And he was talking first of all about the United States of America. And you know that the situation is like, I won't be surprised if the Kingdom of Denmark or some European countries would ask for some security guarantees from the Russian Federation. Who knows what is going to happen? Another important thing is that during the next days, the delegation of the United States of America is planning to visit Moscow. Witkoff and Kirchner are planning to visit Moscow soon and meet with Putin. So the thing is that I'm not 100% sure that these guys are going to talk with Russia about Ukraine. So maybe they're going to Russia with the purpose to receive guarantees from the Russian side that they will not do anything, they will not help the European Union with the situation in Greenland. Anyway, the situation develops in the Russian favor, and obviously they will ask for something for this favor from their side. So let's wait and see what is going to be next. Obviously, the situation is difficult, first of all, for the European Union, because everything can happen. Now let's talk about Ukraine. And during the previous 24 hours, we received lots of updates. Some of them we have already discussed, about no products in supermarkets, about huge problems with energy system, and about the evacuation of the city of Kiev. Let's discuss more updates that we got from this area. And the first one, and the most important, that for the 18th time, the Parliament of Ukraine supported the extension of mobilization and martial law for another 90 days. So this 18th, let's say, martial law will expire on the May 4th of 2026, which means that the conflict will continue for another 90 days, and And that's it. So, which means that no talks within the next 90 days, which means that everything that we can see right now will continue, will develop, will intensify, and will escalate. Another important thing is that during the previous 24 hours, the Russians carry out another massive attack with drones. 116 drones were attacking the territory of Ukraine. This is not the biggest attack. This is just a massive attack, and mostly and mainly the Russians were attacking objects of energy infrastructure. Also, there were 3 missiles, Iskander ballistic missiles that were launched. One of them was brought down by Ukrainians. But the sources are saying that we are going to see a very bad weather within the next 5 days until the end of January. And the sources are saying that Russians are going to attack Ukraine with missiles and drones within the next 1 or 2 days, with the purpose to attack right before bad weather comes and right before the Ukrainian authorities will establish or stabilize the situation in the energy sector of Ukraine. So right before, to ruin everything once again and to see what happens. Another important thing is that today the Minister of Defense of Ukraine was appointed. We're talking about this young man. His second name is Fyodorov, and he's going to be the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, and he's going to change a lot of things. He's from IT sector. He is a developer, or he had some connections with the IT sector. So obviously he doesn't have anything common with the military. Furthermore, several pro-Russian sources this evening published a report that he was a part of a phone company, not like a phone company, but okay, we will not discuss this. But if you want, you will be able to find this information in the internet. But once again, according to different pro-Russian sources, his reputation is not so clear, probably. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next. But as of now, let's discuss the situation in the Black Sea. During the previous 24 hours, we received additional details about the situation in this area. Ukrainians, or a third party, because we don't know exactly for sure who was attacking the vessels, commercial vessels in this area. We have this video published today. This is the situation on Tuesday, and here we can see how a drone attacked a vessel that was moving in the Black Sea. Later, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that at 10 a.m. of 30th January of 2026, a distress call was received from the Matilda tanker via the International Security and Disaster Channel in the Black Sea. The Matilda tanker under the Malta flag was attacked by 2 Ukrainian strike drones at the distance of about 100 kilometers from Anapa. So the Russians are saying that the tanker was attacked by a Ukrainian drone. So this is the settlement of Anapa, and this is the distance. The tanker was attacked within 100 kilometers from the city itself, so somewhere here. So according to pro-Russian sources, the tanker was attacked by a Ukrainian drone or by Ukrainian drones somewhere in this area. So as you can see, the Ukrainians have created something like the Black Sea Wall. So the Black Sea Wall is the situation when Ukrainians established complete control over the territory of the Black Sea with a significant number of Navy drones, and their purpose is very simple. So the vessels and tankers, commercial vessels, are allowed to enter the territory or the port infrastructure of the Russian Federation to take fuel, to get Russian oil, or to get maybe not even the Russian oil but Kazakhstan oil. But these vessels, these commercial tankers, are not allowed to leave this territory, and if they enter this the Black Sea Wall, Ukrainians attack these vessels and these tankers with drones. They damage them and they force them to return back to the port infrastructure of the Russian Federation. So this is the situation, and this is a not very good situation for Russians, because first of all, this is very bad for the Russian reputation. And if everything and the things continue developing the same way, one thing is clear, that within the next 6 months we won't see even a single commercial vessel or tanker on the territory of the Black Sea. This is going to be indeed the Black Sea, because nobody will enter there, just Navy drones, and that's it. Now let's discuss the situation in Ukraine along the line of combat contact, and this video we're going to start with most northern parts of Ukraine. We're talking about the Chernihiv and the Sumy regions. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians carried out several attacks on infrastructure and temporary deployment points of the armed forces of Ukraine, most likely that the Ukrainians were using for drones or as a warehouse for drones. Here we can see how a temporary deployment point of the armed forces of Ukraine was discovered, and then the Russians began bombing and attacking this territory with drones. So lots of drones, as you can see, lots of explosions, most likely, and 2 trucks were destroyed as well. So as we discussed during the previous videos, the Ukrainians are using this territory, the northern and eastern part of Ukraine, with the purpose to attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. Another attack took place in the area of the settlement by the name of Yampol. Here we can see almost the same thing. The Russians, as a result of reconnaissance operation, managed to discover positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, some checkpoint, as you can see, and then the territory was attacked with an FPV drone. But these attacks are not the most important thing that we received from this territory. The most important is the report that was published by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. Today, the Russians stated that as a result of clashes, the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Komarovka. So these are the changes on the ground between the dates. This is the end of the 13th of January. This is the end of the 14th of January. Based on the report published by Russians, we have adjusted the map. So as of now, it's very difficult to say what exactly we can see here. Either the Russians are going to begin their major offensive operation in the northeastern part of Ukraine with the purpose to take on the complete control, basically the launching site of the armed forces of Ukraine, because Ukrainians are using this territory just for one purpose, to attack deep inside of the Russian Federation. Because the distance, let's say, from these fields, from this part of Ukraine, let's say somewhere from this point and to the city of Moscow, to the capital of the Russian Federation, is about 500 kilometers. This is a very important thing, because if you remember, several days ago we received the report that the United Kingdom is about to develop or have already developed a missile with 200 kilos warhead that and the range of 500 kilometers that the United Kingdom is going to develop or have already developed for the armed forces of Ukraine. So that is why it is a vital question for the Russians to take the northeastern part of Ukraine, this territory, under complete control. If Russians can do this, this will force Ukrainians to remove their launching sites to the area around between the cities of Chernihiv and Kiev, somewhere here. And from this point, the distance to the city of Moscow is already around 600 kilometers, which means that Ukrainians will not be able to use these UK missiles or something like this to attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. So, but as of now, it's very difficult to say what exactly we can see in the area of Komarovka. Either the Russians launched their offensive operation, their major offensive, or not. Because the most important thing that this is not something that we received just today. For example, up to 10 days ago, pro-Ukrainian sources and a neutral mapper reported that something was there. For example, on the 5th of January of 2026, the neutral mapper stated that the Russians began clashes around the villages of Komarovka and Kharkivka. But as for the village of Kharkivka, this is the village the Russians were forced to fall back. As for the settlement of Komarovka, the Russians managed to improve their positions. And as for the 4th of January of 2026, pro-Ukrainian sources reported, and they colored lots of pro-Ukrainian sources adjusted their maps in this area by adding additional gray zone. So this is the situation. This is not something new. We've been just waiting when the Russians will confirm this information, and they confirmed these reports that were published by different sources just 10 days after. So now we are waiting what is going to be next. Either the Russians are going to move further, or the Russians are not going to do anything. Another important thing is the Sumy direction. During the previous 24 hours, as you can see, no additional changes on the ground were recorded, but the most important thing is that we start receiving updates from the Rubicon team. I would like to remind you that this is one of the most powerful drone crew, not just drone crew, it's the entire drone forces. And we received lots of updates of how this, let's say, drone unit was attacking forces, positions, and equipment of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Sumy direction. So if we increase the numbers of updates since the beginning of January, we might see that we start receiving lots of updates of FPV drone attacks exactly from this area, from the area of the settlement of Khotin. We, as you can see, had a lot of updates about changes on the ground according to different sources, and no FPV drone attacks. Now we start receiving lots of them, and all of these FPV drone attacks are taking place within the village of Khotin and within the main supply line that is going exactly in this area. And the most important is that the Russians are attacking this territory not just with regular FPV drone crews, unknown or known names, but they're attacking with very powerful and strong FPV drone crews, which means that the Russians finished the redeployment of FPV drone operators in this area, which means that the Russians within the next days are going to intensify their offensive operation in the area of the villages of Khotin and Krovne. So Russians most likely are going to launch a major offensive operation with the purpose to get the city of Sumy as close as possible. Now let's move further. As for the Kupiansk direction, the situation is very complicated. During the previous 24 hours, we received several videos when Russians were attacking and destroying the logistic of the armed forces of Ukraine, but as you can see, we have no changes on the ground. Lots of artillery strikes, FPV drone attacks, lots of attacks with Geraint drones, but without changes on the ground, and as of now, as many sources, experts reported, nobody knows for sure what is the exact situation in this area. Where are the Russian territories? Where are the territories under control of the armed forces of Ukraine? So as of now, we are not changing anything. We are just waiting. We are waiting for additional clarification. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians improved their positions significantly to the west of the river of Bakhmutka. So these are the changes between the dates. The Russians continue advancing through the fields in the direction of the main defense layer. We are talking about the territory between Rai-Alexandrovka, Kaleniki, Riznikovka, Kriva Luka, and Zakitna. So this is the biggest stronghold and fortified area through the entire line of combat contact, and now the Russians are tasked to take the territory under complete control. As for the city of Liman, the Russians continue tightening the news around supply lines, and here we can see two geolocations that go right exactly through the last supply arteria that Ukrainians still have in this area. This supply arteria goes through this territory and through the river of Seversky Donetsk, something like this. And according to videos that we have received from this territory, we can say one thing is clear: the Russians established complete control, complete FPV drone and fire control over the territory, and this is most likely the last more or less reliable supply line that Ukrainians have. And if they lose this supply line, most likely the Russians will start offensive within 2 or 3 weeks after the forces of the armed forces of Ukraine would be exhausted completely. As for the Konstantinovka direction, during the previous 24 hours, a very important video was published from the area of N20 road, from the area of this village of Berystok. This video was published by a pro-Ukrainian source. Here we can see how an FPV drone of the armed forces of Ukraine was attacking the intersection of road and the anti-tank ditches. We don't see any Russian soldier there, but the author of this video claims that he was attacking Russian soldiers right exactly at this point. As of now, we haven't adjusted anything. We are waiting for additional clarification, but we will adjust the map most likely before the next video, and tomorrow in the morning we will discuss everything, but we will cover everything to the south of this point, including the territory around the Kliban-Bytskaya water reservoir. Furthermore, today several mappers confirmed that Russians continue offensive operation, and every single day the Russians are making their positions on the territory of the city of Konstantinovka stronger and stronger. As for the Ryzhkovka direction, during the previous 24 hours, small changes were recorded. In the area of Novopavlovka, the Russians are keeping on advancing in the direction of the settlement, and most likely the clashes for this territory is going to start very, very soon. As for the Pokrovsk-Dobropolye direction, nothing special. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 24 hours, small changes were recorded. We see that it is very difficult, it's becoming very difficult for Russians to leave the city of Guliapole in the western direction. Ukrainians built a very powerful defense layer in this area. Here we can see a video how Russians were attacking strongholds and trenches completely loaded with the armored forces of Ukraine. So there are soldiers, armored forces of Ukraine. We see additional protection nets above their positions, so everything was well fortified. The Russians were attacking this city with FPV drones. The most important problem for Ukrainians that all these strongholds were designed in the southern direction to see the situation to the south, but not from the east. But the Russians continue offensive and we have changes. So this is the situation by the end of the 13th, and this is the end of the 14th. Russians improved their positions around the settlement of Guliapole based on the report that was published by a pro-Russian source. And another improvement we can see around the settlement of Svetopetrivka. So based on this video, we will not watch the video due to violence and casualties, but based on this video, as you can see, we have adjusted this part. As for the western Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 24 hours, additional changes were recorded around the village of Pavlovka. This information was provided by a pro-Russian source. As a result of clashes, the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to improve their positions significantly, and most likely in coming days, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm either control over the settlement of Novoyakovlevka or over the settlement of Pavlovka. So the Russians continue advancing, and as we can see, the news around the city of Orekhov continue tightening. And that's it for today. Military with Samurai channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.